All right, we are live at Choctaw Casino where I'm pari-mutually wagering on the ponies. 4 just came into place at the last second, so we got good vibes, but it's playoff vibes up there in Detroit with the Cowboys and Lions fixing 4.
I completely froze.
Clowney, he's not going to give it a go. Jadeveon Clowney is out for this game. So as we get going here with about, an hour and a half to go before kickoff, not the news the Cowboys fans wanted to hear going into this matchup.
You're talking about ASR is going. He's going to give it a go. He's
going. And I think that's huge because a big part of the Lions' approach is to try to get the ball out quickly. And with the Cowboys' pass rush coming up the middle, Amon-Ra St. Brown in. Sam Laporta is still out, and he's been like a Goff's security blanket. But I think the it'll be really interesting to see how flowing. I think an ankle injury, if you can cut on it, is something you can manage throughout the game. Obviously, he's feeling the desperation of the moment, but I think Clowney versus Sewell was something we were counting on there to contain that edge. Without Clowney, I don't know where the Cowboys go to find a physical player there at defensive end who can.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of it is
Detroit
season.
I got you.
Detroit season's on the line. So, if you're week to week and you lose tonight, the rest of the weeks might not matter. So you're going to get everything ASR's got. What it's incumbent upon Dallas to do is figure out if he's got it. Because if he can go, that's a different scenario than if he's just out there as a decoy trying to help JMO.
That's a great point. Like, what exactly does Amon-Ra St. Brown have? If he's 100%, I think it's massive. I think it could be enough to swing the point spread by a point and a half, maybe 2 at the absolute most. But without Amon-Ra St. Brown, only having to worry about Jameson Williams was huge advantage. Cowboys now having their full complement of wide receivers, basically, that changes the equation significantly. Now, let's go to Dak Prescott pregame. Here he is. James Slater captured the video, had a little conversation with him. The text reads, just asked Dak Prescott what he remembers from the last one here, that we lit him up, a lot of passing yards, about to do it again. I asked, can I quote you on that? And he said, sure, with a confident smile. How confident are you, New Bear, that the Cowboys can shake off the road woes that they've had all season long and put up an offensive performance? I expect the Cowboys in any game to score about 35 points.
They had this thing Rowdy posted earlier today, of him against the lion and taming the lion and going into the den and everything. And I was joking that we need Eminem inside that lion suit, it's going to be loud. Eminem might be there. Like, this is one of those playoff type regular season games. And really, for both of these teams, every week is playoffs for the rest of the season. So it's going to be about as good as it gets, both for a regular season game, but also for Thursday night. Like, normally Thursday night games are trash. You and I both agree they shouldn't exist, or they should just play every damn day. And now we're getting a matchup where it's going to feel like a playoff, like a early Christmas present, right? And what I'm really looking forward to, how confident am I? Okay, so it's going to be loud, right? It's not going to be can. It's going to be a lot of hand signals and stuff like that. But it's going to be in a controlled environment, right? So there's no weather, none of that stuff to deal with. Like if you were in Chicago or here in Pittsburgh, where it's going to be like 13 degrees. And if you can handle the sound of quieting the crowd by getting CD and GP going early, everything is now evil, right? Or even. Where it would be evil is if JMO gets loose early. If one of these guys that you underestimate because it's not Amon-Ra at full go, or Tesla introduces himself to you and makes you regret, your decision to press or jam, or your decision to turn and bail, or whatever the case may be. Like, they need to be on their P's and Q's, because this Detroit team will kill you if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Yeah, and I think it's vitally important on that note to get a quick start going so they can take the crowd out of the game a little bit. The Cowboys, they nearly lost the game in the first 20 minutes of game time against Philadelphia. The Kansas City start was brutal with the interception. Like, I don't know if you want to tempt fate and have a cold third start in a row and get behind on the scoreboard against this Lions crowd, because this Lions fan base is ready to mail it in, like to have all the expectations and then to hit the skids here as they turn towards December, losers of a couple in a row. Like, this Lions fan base is in misery mode, just like they were having a winless season because of, what the expectations did for them. And if you can get a double-digit score early, you might totally take them out of the game and neutralize that crowd factor, which could be massive with Nate Thomas, basically a rookie, getting his second career start there for the injured.
So you're talking about
Tyler Guyton's going to be at left tackle.
Pre-snap penalties and all that kind of stuff, that the shooting yourself in the foot kind of thing. I almost interrupted you, but I really wanted to let you finish your thought and see how far you were going to take it, because I'm actually of the ilk where they're starving for something to go nuts about. And if you don't cut the head off the snake, these are still the Detroit Lions. And if you keep Jared Goff clean, he'll eat your heart. So if you don't come out, it's not just starting fast, but keeping up with the pace, because they're going to get NASCAR. They're going to try to get you up and down. And you might have a series or two where they go out to 10 or you go out to 10 and there's ebbs and flows and they come back. Like, my big thing is, if you keep giving them reasons, this is one of the most desperate situations for either team. Well, there's only one fan base in the building, unless Dallas really traveled to Detroit Rock City.
Let's get some comments going in here. Salute to Scarecrow, Dallas Cowboys for bleeping life. Let's go, boys. Salute to you. Thank you so much for checking in with us here on How Bout Wow on a game day. How about we go to Dak Delusional fans? If Dak does his
one of the great handles in the game.
If Dak does his job, Cowboys win and run the table to the NFC Championship game. I wish I could have that level of confidence, but with Amon-Ra St. Brown in this game, like
There he is.
What's that?
They're showing Amon-Ra a little bit of pregame. He looks like he's moving around pretty damn good. He's running in a straight line. He's not cutting east and west. We're not talking about whip routes or return game. Not return game meaning punts and kicks, but like return routes and going east and west. But he looks pretty damn good going in a straight line.
Okay, so, since the bye week, the Cowboys' defensive line has been the number one rated by Pro Football Focus, and that should be advantage Cowboys.
What is it, 45 yards a game? Shut down.
They've been amazing, and their pass rush is third best since the Quinnen Williams acquisition. The problem with that is overall in the last 3 weeks, their total defensive EPA is 18th. And what's that tell you? If your front's playing that well, your coverage on the back end is struggling, and it's going to leave you vulnerable if you don't get to Jared Goff. I think Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Jamison Williams are capable of eating a little bit, maybe pushing Detroit themselves into 30 points. So I think this goes to maybe some bad injury luck, not having Clowney, and Trayvon Diggs not being ready to go yet. Like, need to come back and play about as good as Deron Bland's been the last 3 weeks.
You know what I'm more interested to see than any of the DBs on any other receivers, whether they're playing and they're healthy or not, is, are we going to get overshown on give? Is this going to be Agent Zero on Agent Zero? Is this going to be 0 on 0 crime? Because Overshown looks like he's close, but we know Gibbs. I mean, he's leading the damn league in just about every explosive thing.
Yeah, you're going to have to, get the play from the defensive tackles. The interior of the Detroit offensive line is vulnerable. They are weak. They are not fast. They don't handle twists very well. Like, there's a lot of things you can do against Detroit today. But, as we've seen, whether it was Denver or Arizona, the Cowboys have gone out on the road and laid an absolute egg too many times to be super confident right now. That being said, I still like the Cowboys +3 if you can get that in the sports book as kickoff approaches. I don't want you to gamble. I just want you to know how confident I am in this team. Okay, did you see what Dan Orlovsky said today about this Cowboys-Lions matchup? Here we go.
Dan, tonight playoff elimination game, Cowboys-Lions. What's your lean in this game?
I lean Dallas. I would try to win Dak the MVP tonight if I was Dallas.
Ooh.
If Detroit wants to line up and play man coverage,
which they have, last 3 games, 70% man.
I'm going to throw 40 times. You cannot cover my 2 guys. And I'm totally comfortable. I'll put George by himself. I'll put CD opposite. You want to cover George?
Okay, I probably better cut that before we get a copyright strike as they throw it in the play-by-play. Might not be able to avoid it at this point, but it's fine. It's a live show. We got kickoff happening in about an hour and 15 minutes or so. You can't win MVP tonight, but you could go out and have another 3-touchdown game and extend your Cowboy record. You could have a 4-touchdown game. You could go off and remind people that it's you and Matt Stafford and maybe a couple of other guys, Drake May, that are really in this thing.
Drake May's a prohibitive favorite because Stafford fumbled it away. If Stafford would have went down the field against Carolina, he'd be running away with it right now. Having said both of those things in a quarterback-driven league, where Jonathan Taylor had one bad game and that's all it takes to discount anyone not named quarterback, whatever. If the Cowboys win tonight and run the table, Dak Prescott's MVP because you won't be able to stop talking about the winning streak and how well he's playing because of it. George Pickens might actually steal some votes.
Yes. Okay. And I guess at that point they would be, if they ran the table 11-5-1, should be enough wins to get you firmly in the MVP conversation, especially if Jalen Carter can't play the rest of the season, and you do in fact overtake the Eagles because their magic number is 4. If they go 3-2 and you run the table, then you would win the division. He is out for the Monday night game against the Chargers, significantly increasing the Cowboys' chances of moving to within a half game by the time this week is over. Carter is undergoing treatment on both shoulders and will be considered week to week. Wanted to be as close to 100% as possible for the playoff run. We've been, thinking, what could this be? It could be an arthroscopic clean out. It could be PRP injections. But, if tendonitis, bursitis, or something like that has reached the point where you got to miss games, that's a pretty significant injury that he's dealing with. And the numbers I saw, it's unbelievable. The Eagles have the 3rd best defense in the NFL when Jalen Carter is on the field. They are the worst when he is off. He's one of the very few defensive linemen in the game that people could believe is better than Quentin Williams. But that's a Micah Parsons-like impact.
Yeah, but the difference between him and Micah is he's in the middle, and he can't. It's way harder for him to go off script and just run around and do whatever he wants. Micah going and hunting stats is different. Jalen Carter's got to run through 2-3 guys to get to the quarterback. So if Jalen Carter were to take the long route around, the long way home, you would literally be getting gashed on everything right up the middle, and it would be it's almost impossible to compare the two of them and from an impact perspective beyond the statistics, right? What I'm most interested in this is one word. They said procedure, not surgery, because when you said PRP or even stem cells or some of the things, like if you start talking about cutting dudes and arthroscopic procedures, like we're in Brandon Roy territory where what are you coming back for and risking going forward? Because if you're cutting something out of someone's body that ain't going to grow back, that's a different conversation than trying to stimulate growth to reduce swelling, pain management, range of motion, physical therapy, and all the things. Either way, you're still talking about 4 and 6 week timetables to feel comfortable about not risking further injuries. So the fact that they said procedure and not surgery is the only reason that I'm not saying this is bullshit.
Yeah, and I have to imagine their urgency has to be very high. I don't think you're going to LA and taking on the Chargers, who are a very good football team, and thinking you're going to win. But maybe that's the difference in desperation from a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown and the Eagles right now, who still have to be pretty dang comfortable about their playoff positioning. Okay, let's jump back in here to the tech.
Ultra Cowboys got some pretty interesting points, man.
Bears ran for 300 yards, and now my shoulder hurts.
That's going back up a couple, talking about the Chiefs and the Lions, 30-17, and I felt like that game was really the refs were terrible in that game, and like a lot of the JMO drop on 4th down last week, there's been so many moments in so many games where you can just feel one play, and sometimes if it's 4th down and it's late. And that's the end of things, literally. But sometimes for Detroit, to your point about the crowd, sometimes the players feel it coming themselves, and it's like an avalanche. Momentum is a real thing inside of games. And I think when you drop one ball, you drop 2. We've seen it happen to CeeDee Lamb on our side, right? Where you start getting in your own head and having crash outs on the sidelines. It might not take much from the players to start, that snowball rolling downhill. Be interesting to see if there is a big miss, like, because J-Mo's famous for being wide ass open and pressure forcing, Goff to one hop one or airmail one. Like, does that turn into something, especially if Amon-Ra can't really run inside and out, where J-Mo can't quite get the job done, that it just starts compressing on them as Dak and CD and GP go to work?
Ultra also asked if I'm scared. It's not that I'm scared. I just want the best possible situation. After 30 years, I just want to see the Cowboys go on a playoff run. So I don't want them to play any teams with their best players. I think I'm still getting death threat from the 49ers for 4 years ago, suggesting that the Cowboys' only chance of winning this game is if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt. They thought I was rooting for injuries. I'm not ashamed of it, but injuries are a massive part of sports, and especially in football. And if you can get some injury luck, it significantly increases your chance.
Hey, for the faithful to the Bay crowd that may be listening, everyone needs to know that both Gavin Dawson and I loved the 49ers growing up, Joe Montana forever. And the fact that he's living in fear that you guys, the FTTB crowd, hates him, we need to send some love his way if you guys are listening. And I'm going to start tagging people as we start blogging and getting back into things again from a storytelling perspective. Speaking of stories, I got so excited talking about Dak winning the MVP, we didn't address Orlovsky. And the one thing that we got to say is that Javonte Williams is not, like, Jahmyr Gibbs and Sonic and Knuckles are not the only running game in this game. And Javonte Williams is having a career season. And Javonte Williams is putting himself in a position to get paid. And they need to feed that man as well. And Malik Davis wouldn't mind seeing 43 go 43 one more time. How about you?
Yeah, I would love to see that. And I'm glad that you brought us back to Orlovsky, my man, because this is a big day for the coaches and for Dak. If the Lions, who Orlovsky's co-host pointed out, have played 70% of the time the last 2
crazy
years, if they flip the script on that and go to a lot more zone, we've seen teams go 3-man rush with 8 players in coverage against Dak Prescott and frustrate the hell out of him. This is going to become a Javonte Williams, Malik Davis, and yes, Dak Prescott running game. If they're going to do that, I need to see Dak try to run for 50 or 60 yards in this thing and pull up a couple of big first downs and running inside the 10-yard line. Like, I don't want Dak running a lot because of his age and because of his injury history. But if running is the only way you're going to win this game tonight, you have to be very comfortable embracing that, not feeling like we need to feed CD or feed George Pickens. If they're playing coverage, please run the hell out of the ball. If you don't, their struggles passing inside the 10 will appear all over the football field. I love Dak Prescott, but there's very few quarterbacks that could be able to handle it. They even slowed down Patrick Mahomes in a big way when they just elected to start playing coverage more and more. So this is a big coaching staff and Dak Prescott mental adjustments game if the Lions do something. And their coaches have been talking like they're going to do something unpredictable.
Dude, Schottenheimer's got to have a rule, like on that Denny's spreadsheet, which shout out to Shoppy for, he has the logo and he doesn't look like he's at a Waffle House. And I really appreciate the professionalism there from the man who turns the visor backward and Colin Cowherd still hates. But like, when you're looking at that play sheet, there needs to be a note that the camera catches that says like +3, run the fucking ball. Because if they're at the 3, the 2, the 1, run it 4 times in a row. And I don't care if you don't get in, you leave it on the inch line, and then you stop them, get a safety, get a short field, whatever the case may be. And you do it again the next time. I meant to bring this up a couple weeks ago when we were talking about this first started coming up. Do you remember when Megatron was about to like break all of Jerry Rice's records, and he had like 200 targets, 120 catches, and it was going to be the 2,000-yard year, and he didn't quite get there, right? He had 5 touchdowns, almost 2,000 yards, 200 targets, 5 touchdowns. Why did Megatron only have 5 touchdowns? Because he kept getting tackled at the damn 1-yard line. Do you even know who the running back was on that team? It doesn't matter. Run the ball. You got Javonte Williams. He's the next-gen stats greatest running back in history out of the shotgun. Do it out of the gun if you don't want to tush push. Stop it. Stop throwing the ball on 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 1.
You could pass it one time. If you're going to run all 4 downs, at least 2 of them should be runs, for crying out loud. All 4 of them can't be passes. Okay, I'm going to guess Javid Best, by the way, out of Cal.
Oh,
was the
dude,
running back for those Lions teams. Here's a clip of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't know if this is the one that you saw on TV, but that's off Jeremy Fowler's Twitter account. I don't know. It looks 70% speed to me. It's so hard to gauge these things because they're the world's best athletes and they look athletic all the time.
All right,
Okay.
so I'm gonna give you the backup backs were Kevin Smith and Joik Bell. You will never guess the starting running back on the team for Megatron that year. It was Michael LaShore, dude. And if you know where he went, if you remember Michael LaShore from Illinois.
Michael LaShore, yeah.
Yeah,
I was covering college football in the lead up to those years, so a lot of those names resonate with me. But I just threw out a Lions running back from years past. But
Javid Best's a hell of a guess, though.
It's a Hail Mary.
Javid Best's a hell of a guess, man. That dude could really go. Concussions got him, right? He was that Percy Harvin mold, another guy who concussions got, where one of those guys who was probably born 20 years too early, right? Like you drop him into today's game, he's Jahmyr Gibbs type.
Okay, I'm live at Choctaw Casino. He is New Bear Lesniewski, the all-academic SEC lineman from Kentucky. I'm Gavin Dawson from the G-Bag Nation, home of the Cowboys. We'll have a fantastic football Friday for you tomorrow. George Pickens not going anywhere was the takeaway from a story today with Jeremy Fowler and Todd Archer, ESPN. A team source saying he ain't leaving. And amongst the reasons why, this is fantastic. I think it's some of the best Cowboys content of the day. The deal signed with Fergie, Bland, and Smith in the offseason were designed with the ability to create nearly $30 million in cap space in 2026. You throw in restructures for Prescott and Lamb, and there could be even more. And they could release Trayvon Diggs that could save them $18 million against the cap. And they're also capable of carrying over $23 million in cap space from 2025 that they did not end up using for 2026. I would have probably used it for a safety, a linebacker, a corner, somebody at the trade deadline, but maybe that wasn't available. But the big takeaway on that is they have more than enough resources without borrowing additional money from the future and swiping the credit card to bring Pickens and Clark back. And it's amazing. Maybe this is how the Lions felt in 2023, where it was like, holy crap, we're really good and we have resources, and 2024 is going to be our year. They won 15 games that season. And there's a chance Cowboys win this game. I think their playoff odds go to 40%. I'm still excited and hopeful for this year, but 2026 could be freaking amazing if they stay healthy.
Well, and think about this. At the beginning of the year, when we were out in Oxnard, we were doing shows and we were doing thought explorations about, like, not just do you kick the can, but how far down the road do you kick the can for Dak Prescott's albatross of a contract if he can't stay healthy? And then he takes his shirt off looking like a young Arnold Schwarzenegger, and everything's just been gravy train from an offensive perspective for the most part since then. They make the move for Q, which was the back half of what we said, what's coming after George. And now everything you just said, the only thing you didn't say that I'm still excited to talk about is that it probably won't be Minka, because it doesn't look like the Dolphins are going to lay down and go away, and they might even trade for Mike Tomlin. But if it's not a Minka guy and you can't go and give up the capital to go get Caleb Downs, then there are other commensurate players at lower dollar amounts that you can start plugging and playing to fix these holes that we're still talking about, particularly if they move on from 7.
Terrific stuff. I want to salute this comment right here, maybe from Johnny Blue. Is that how I would say that? He says, hit that like button. That is a callback to a Jason Garrett, Oxnard, California training camp press conference from maybe 2014, when he was talking about the Cowboys Facebook page getting 1 million likes. And I just thought that was outstanding. So salute to you, sir. A big key on why it's gone so well with Pickens from sources in the story, Pittsburgh and Dallas. A Cowboys source citing Prescott's leadership as a key for Pickens, who respects Prescott. Quote, Dak has a unique way of knowing when to keep a guy accountable and knowing when to pull back. So when Dak speaks, George will listen. That's just, a little something extra for anybody out there that might, not have the most Dak appreciation. Look, there's been things throughout his entire career that you could look at on the field, but when it comes to leadership and intangibles, Jerry Jones has been here for 30 years. Ton of respect for Michael Irvin, but says Dak Prescott's the best leader that he's
Hey, man, I'm never going to get tired of saying it. I told you the biggest problem was he didn't have a grown-up in the huddle. He didn't have a grown-up calling plays, and there wasn't a grown-up over the top of all the things. And when you look at the way Schottenheimer handled the whole Uber situation with the team bus, and you look at the way that he has not gaslit him, but gassed him up, and then also been able to say, hey, when you do go too fast or you do take it too far, here's how we're going to pump the brakes. Then you get in the huddle every damn time and you got 4, and he's telling you literally on his wrist tape, ask for help. And then, oh, by the way, Clayton Adams and that variance, George knows that if they go to CD early, they're going to come back around to him. And he's now able to trust them back, unlike in Pittsburgh, where he knew not only was he maybe not going to get the ball, but if he did, he was going to be running about 3 routes.
All right, buddy. It is getting loud in here. Kickoff is about an hour away. We just wanted to jump on and vibe with you guys. I think I'm the most excited I've been for a sports game since the Dallas Mavericks made the finals in 2023. Rangers World Series before that is the exact kind of energy. And hopefully this can continue into football Friday and into the weekend and into Monday night Philadelphia against the Chargers. Anything else before we go?
Yeah, just one little thing. Ultra Cowboy, one last time on the way out, talking about guys he likes and safeties in particular. And I just wanted to remind, as we're teasing things out, as we get into this backstretch of the season, knowing that eventually, no matter what happens, run the table or lose just one of these games, the next phase is getting ready for the draft. And you're already scouting quarterbacks and sending me notes at 2 a.m, arguing with me about guys that I don't like, telling me I'm crazy. So we're excited for that too.
Yeah, who needs Minka Fitzpatrick when you can get Micah Downs? Maybe with the Packers pick if they drop a couple to the Bears. For New Bear, I'm Dawson. Until next time, how bow wow.